What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Happy Monday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a Monday show. We're here to break down the the 7-game. Got distracted by a text message there. Here to break down the 7-game main slate for tonight on DraftKings and FanDuel as usual. A little bit of baseball going on in the afternoon. Reminds me, I'm going to flip over to the Yankee game here. Pop the Yes Network on. Yanks in Detroit. This game was supposed to be a night game. Got rescheduled to the afternoon because it is rainy and cold and ugly out there apparently in the middle of the country right now. Joker's excited in the other room. We got Yankees baseball in the afternoon right now, but we're here to talk about 7 games tonight. Cujo's here. Andy's here. Anthony Taylor. Stephen Leibowitz. Good to see everybody. Letting a few people trickle in as we get warmed up. Just got back from lunch with the folks. The goal is to keep this show earlier in the afternoon most days, but today they got here at like 12:30, so it just wasn't going to be a 1 o'clock show. Diner that we usually go to, that we were hoping to go to, was closed for construction, so we ended up just grabbing some burgers, but nice to see the folks. They're actually going down to Florida this week, so I'm taking care of their dog, Dylan. He's in the other room hanging out with Joker. Good day. Shake Shack. Had a Shake Shack burger, some fries, and a chocolate shake. Pretty damn good. But anyway, yeah, it was a good compromise. I was probably going to go like solid, like, lumberjack or something if we had gone to the diner. Got like pancakes and eggs and, the whole nine. But burger, always a good compromise. So let's get into this baseball slate. What do you guys say? Tame 7-gamer. It was an interesting weekend. A lot of action over the weekend with combined slates, chopped up slates with DraftKings making one the primary and FanDuel going with the other one all weekend. So a lot of coverage, a little bit of crazy basketball over the weekend. Today, relatively calm. Just 2 basketball games tonight, nice and easy. So we'll get those up at the site after the show. Yep, Dylan like Bobby Dylan. Or like any other Irish Dylan that you might want to name. Bobby Dylan, technically Robert Zimmerman. I don't know where they got it really. Might be after Bob Dylan. Might be, I don't know. Who's I know there's many famous Irish Dylans. They're not springing to mind. But one of them maybe. Yeah, Vladdy got paid, as Anthony Taylor points out. 14 years, $500 million. Tariff was too high to bring him to any of the U.S.-based clubs, so he's staying in Toronto. Kind of like that. Dylan Thomas, thank you. Appreciate that. Went blank there for a minute. I brought it up and then just blanked. Marlins and the Mets. Pushover pitcher on the mound for the Marlins. Mets looking pretty solid. A lot of guys drawing some pretty big numbers against Tyler Phillips. Kodai Senga on the mound for the Mets. Pretty impressive looking spot for him. Potential to keep the Marlins off the board. Sub 3 total. 269 implied total for the Marlins. It is a dreary, rainy, not cold particularly, but 40s kind of day here in the New York area. Not exactly ideal for hitting, so definitely looking at least some Kodai Senga there. But I think we can consider some Mets. They graded out pretty damn well, so weather be damned in that spot. Twins and the Royals. Kind of a even-up game. 396 implied total on the Twins side. 8-run total for the game. 413 on the Royals side. 8-run total, we could probably at least consider some bats in that one. Rangers at the Cubbies, just a 6-run total there. That's ugly. 286 implied total on the Rangers side. 321 implied total on the Cubs side. Let me pull the weather up, since it's going to come up. As mentioned, middle of the country is disgusting right now. That is NFL. I was like, wow, no weather? Yeah, that'd do it. So the weather in that game, wind blowing in from left, gusting up to 30 miles an hour, snow showers, temperature feel like around 20 degrees, actual temperature right at freezing, 32 degrees, 0 degrees if you're watching from Europe. So not exactly baseball weather in Chicago. 2 very good pitchers on the mound in that one. It's Justin Steele going for the that's the NHL file. It's Justin Steele going for the Cubbies, and Nathan Eovaldi, who's been excellent to start the season, going for the Rangers. So that doesn't really help the hitting environment there. I think we're mostly just looking pitching with 2 teams that we kind of do consider quite a bit. The Orioles and the D-backs, 8.5 run total is now our highest on the board. The Padres and the A's were up at 8.5 before, but I just updated it. Came down slightly. Still like the look of the Padres in that one, but 4-1 implied total for the Orioles. Diamondbacks pulling the second highest total on the board. No, excuse me, now the highest total on the board at 4.48. Pods were higher before. So definitely an interesting spot for bats on both sides of that one and two very effective lineups. Astros at the Mariners, definitely another spot we might look at some Logan Gilbert for pitching. He's got the Astros checked down to just 3.14 implied runs. 3.94 coming back the other way. On the Mariners side of that one, they're showing a little bit of power. I'm maybe kind of interested in some Mariners pop against Hayden Wesneski. Reds at the Giants, another low total. Giants ballpark plays up some pitching pretty effectively most of the time. 6.5 runs there. Just a 3 on the side of the Reds with Logan Webb on the mound. 3.59, a little bit more meat on the bone for the Giants. But we're really limited for Vegas runs today. And then rounding things out, Padres looking aggressively good. Athletics, playable. 3.66 implied total for them. And then the Pods back and forth with the Diamondbacks for the top spot. 4.43 right now for them. Call it basically a tie between those two teams. I forgot to fill the coffee up. Damn it. Oh, well. So, as mentioned, Logan Gilbert, even up against that Houston squad with their relatively low strikeout rates overall, pretty strong spot for Logan Gilbert, one of the top just strikeout to walk ratio pitchers in the league, one of the top right-handed pitchers in the league, full stop. Projects out at a very strong FanDuel mark, nearly a 20-point DraftKings projection. Love it. Michael King going up against the Athletics. As mentioned, the A's are drawing a little bit of power there. This is a game in that Sacramento park that we just kind of got to see how it's going to play. Right now, as discussed previously, kind of have it neutral for park factors. And then we are going to see where things go. But that was a park that played down for runs PCL-wise, but PCL plays up for runs. We talked about the talent that went through there for a while. It was the Giants AAA organization. So it's a little bit difficult to nail that down, but we do know that Michael King is a very good pitcher. We do know there are strikeouts there for him. We do know that 8,700 is just too cheap for him in a matchup against this team. So as long as we're fading a little bit of power there on the Oakland side, I like the spot quite a bit for King. Kodai Senga, as mentioned, looking like a potentially dominant spot. The one thing we might not get there is tremendous depth. We'll have to take a look at it, but I think on this slate it's going to play up pretty nicely. Logan Webb, a little bit threat of some offensive outbursts potentially there, but again, that was a 6-something run total, very low implied total on the Cincinnati side. Plenty of strikeouts there. Logan Webb is one of the best pitchers in baseball at keeping the ball in the yard, keeping the ball on the ground. So it looks like a very comfy spot for him. 8,500 feels like a great price on the DraftKings slate. Hunter Green on the other side of that same game, definitely strikeout upside. We know what Hunter Green looks like. There's going to be walks, but there can be dominant strikeout performances. And there are definitely Ks in San Francisco for him to go find. So I don't mind that one also. 7,900 feels like a pretty good price. Gallen, never my favorite pitcher, especially at 98 on FanDuel. He's much more appropriately priced at 83 on DraftKings. I think you can play that even against a very good Orioles lineup. Gallen can be hit and miss. He can have his days where he looks like a B-plus type ace, and he can have his days where he's a lot more gettable, a lot more average. He doesn't have too many total meltdown type days, but he's a gettable pitcher from the more upper tiers. Evaldi, as mentioned, a complete game shutout in his second start of the season last time out through 99 pitches over 9. Wasn't really expecting anybody to go 9 or throw 99 pitches for that matter in that early a start, but there it was. Coming back in that amazing pitching environment in Chicago today, 10-8, 8-7 across sites. The FanDuel price extremely high and not something I'm overly comfortable paying for Nathan Evaldi, but I think in that environment, it's probably makes sense. 87 on DraftKings, a lot more comfy. That's about where I expect Nathan Evaldi to land. They probably could have gone a little bit higher, to be honest. So very different play across sites, but I think you're probably dealing with a less than popular option on the FanDuel slate at that price, and one that's going to come in with a decent amount of popularity at 87 on DraftKings. Steele against Texas, 7,100, 7,700. You can get away with that. That is a pretty cheap price to find an effective pitcher who's making his 4th start of the season already, pitched in the Tokyo series. Zach Eflin, no real love, but he could be at least effective. He projects out fairly well against a good Diamondbacks lineup. But again, that is one of the games where we're potentially drawing some offense from. And Eflin, on a list that's fairly deep for only a 7-game slate, I don't really feel compelled to go to Eflin. But at 6,900, he is one of the functional pieces as far as value, and he's the cheapest of those functional pieces. Luis Severino, I don't love the spot against the Padres. As mentioned, the Pods pulling one of the highest implied totals on the board, also pulling some very good projections. A couple guys over the magic number for home run upside. Don't love the spot for Sevy, 82-73, but he's there. He's playable. Michael Lorenzen, 79-71 against the Twins. I'm leaning more Twins on that one. Wisniewski definitely leaning a little bit more Mariners, but there are always strikeouts in that Mariners lineup, and they're just not that good. What they're showing today is a little bit of power. So probably leaning bats in that one. Simeon Woods Richardson against KC doesn't really project out great. And then Tyler Phillips, I don't think we're getting full innings. And even if we don't, or even if we did get 5, which they did do with the guy we talked about getting 3 the other day, the extended opener, ended up going 5 1/3, I think. But I just don't think there's much talent here with Phillips. So we'll get into the game by game. Gofus asks, top catcher. I don't really think about it in terms of like individual positions, just kind of laid out that way. I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer that. It's neither of these catchers. We'll just do it this way. Ryan Jeffers is okay. Keep him in mind. Sal Perez obviously is very easy to play. Higgy would be sneaky, but probably not against Steele, not the right spot. Miguel Amaya's a no. Adley is obvious. That probably should have been the answer that just came off the top of my head. Gabriel Moreno's all right. Actually, you've got some good catchers on this slate now that I'm thinking it through. Jainer Diaz is excellent. Cal Raleigh plays up very well. So, yeah, any one of Raleigh, Sal Perez, Jainer Diaz, those would probably be your top 3 guys. And then you can honestly throw Langoliers onto that pile too. 6-1-8 in the home run model. It's not ideal, but you've got a lot to work with at catchers. It's not really a one standout guy. Flat out, if I had to pick, it's probably not Jainer Diaz just because of the Logan Gilbert matchup. Adley against Gallen, I don't mind. And then, where was that Royals game? Lost track of who's playing who. I think it's probably Sal. If you don't mind the 4,300, it's a different conversation if you're looking to get cheap with it. But I think it's probably Sal going up against Woods Richardson. You can make the same argument for Ryan Jeffries going up against Lorenzen, but I just have more regard for Sal. I think we've got more history of being a higher end player. So I think that's the way I would go with that. But as mentioned, I really don't individualize position that way. For me, it's more about the stacks, the effectiveness of the stacks. But I get it. So Tyler Phillips, let's talk Tyler Phillips. As you can see, 4 guys on the Mets at an 11 plus in the home run model, not even a 10 plus, but an 11 plus. I don't know what the hell that noise was. 1 second. Everybody okay in here? Good boys. Well, the dogs are just chilling, so it wasn't them. I don't know what. Some kind of calamity just happened out there, but it wasn't in my apartment. I think it was in the hallway. Anyway. So Tyler Phillips. We're talking about a 27-year-old with 10 major league appearances under his belt, with a 2024 minor league ERA of 4.92 with a 4.07 xFIP, with a 20.3% strikeout rate, a 9.6% walk rate, a little bit of a homer problem coming up most of the way through the minors. I really, really don't see much meat on the bone here for Phillips. In the show last year, he made 7 starts for the Phillies, 36 and 2/3 innings, 6.87 ERA with a 4.27 xFIP, and a 17.5% strikeout rate. The one thing he avoided was walks, but he walked people throughout his entire minor league run. So this is a guy who's just making starts. I don't think this is somebody we're chasing even at value for 6,000, 6,300. He went 5 in his first outing. Oh, excuse me, no. That's 5 innings over 2 appearances. Neither of which was a start. Most recently pitched on the 2nd, so we are on 5 days rest. Faced 7 hitters in that game, struck out 1 of them. Pitched 2 innings in that one that was against these Mets. And then 3 innings against the Pirates, faced 11 hitters, gave up 3 hits, walked 1, struck out 1. There's just not much here. There's going to be a lot of contact available for the Mets. They're one of the better implied totals overall at 4.41. I just don't think you dip, even as a step stool kind of a price on DK at SP2. I don't think there's enough ceiling there to get you where you need to be even for that. And I just see the Mets putting up some runs here, even in the terrible hitting conditions. Speaking of, every game on this slate has at least some kind of weather issue. So like this one, Roth has yellow, green. It's rainy, but not actively like coming down or just a little bit of drizzle in this area today. Actually, you know what? A few of these are on the earlier slate, so it's not as messy as it looks like now that I'm looking at it. It's really, this one's got rain and stuff in the area, and then that Chicago one is really the other one to worry about. Not as bad as it looked just looking at the full board. Forgot we had afternoon games in play. If we're looking on the other side for pitching, that's definitely a spot we can mine. The Marlins at a 2.69 implied total. Anytime you see a team under 3, it's a great pitching spot. And to push them that far under 3, significant. In his first outing of the year, Senga went 5. Pretty decent start. Stuff Plus didn't love the shape of the arsenal. We'll keep an eye on that as we go forward. But this is a very strong pitcher with excellent strikeout stuff. He struck out 8 in that game. He gave up a home run, 2 earned, 3 hits over 5 innings, faced 20 batters. I'd like him to go probably a similar 5 and change maybe if things are going right. We get to 6. I do think that's maybe where you get a little bit dicey if you're chasing the quality start on FanDuel. You get a little bit, they put 1 run on him or he walks a couple guys in the 6th like we saw with Casey Mize the other day. You could lose that quality start bump. And he is a little bit expensive at 93, but the strikeout stuff is very real. He could have a very strong upside game for strikeouts here. 19.2% swinging strike rate in that first one. We only had him for 5 1/3 innings last year, but if you remember 2 years ago, 29.1% strikeout rate over the course of the season. 29 starts, 166 1/3, pitched to a 2.98 ERA. Did have a 3.77 xFIP underneath that, so that's a lot shakier, obviously. But a monster swinging strike rate. He's got excellent strikeout stuff. So against one of the worst lineups in baseball, you absolutely love that spot. Really don't think we're drawing much from the Marlins. I just expect a lot of swing and miss, a lot of flailing plate appearances here. There's not that much that really pokes its head out at you anyway that would say like, come on over here and then, I'm good and this other guy's good and then you grab 2 of these other guys in this uniform and you'll be okay. We don't really have that here. Xavier Edwards is fine. He's been a little banged up. I don't know what the injury was. Assuming he's in the lineup, he's your priority guy, but he is an average guy. He's a hit tool guy with speed. So he needs to get 3 base hits. He needs the help from BABIP. He needs to steal a couple bags and then get driven in to really produce anything comparable to what a decent power bat can give you. So it's limiting to just start with him as their best player. And then you get a little bit of lefty pop around like a Kyle Stowers, a Matt Mervis who hit one the other day. He's got 2 on the season. Does have a 300 ISO so far on the season. He has barreled a few balls in a minimal amount of batted ball events. If you didn't notice, 25 StatCast, 25 rates are up here now. I didn't take 23 off the board yet, so it's getting a little crowded there. But I added the new stuff. But this is very, very light. This is just kind of a reference point. There's nothing to that. Another week's worth of plate appearances and those numbers get chopped in half. So. But Mervis, at least out of the gate, hitting the ball pretty effectively. And you can say that for a couple of those guys in a handful of batted ball events. Kyle Stowers has driven the ball somewhat effectively. He's got a home run on the board as well. He's got a stolen base. He's created runs 23% better than average. Jonah Bride, Griff Conine, there's some mix and matching maybe could be done with those guys. Griff Conine at a 5.41 in the home run model. He's barreled a couple balls early in the season. He's very cheap at 25, 24. He's got a home run on the board. But it's just not a pitcher I want to target with this lineup all that much, and I want to use this pitcher. A couple years ago in the full sample, 2.45% home run rate. That did come with some contact. It does come with a fly ball trajectory, but he was decent at missing barrels. There's really not a lot to cling to for the Fish fans out there. If you're looking down the bottom of that lineup, Liam Hicks, part-time catcher, very, very cheap, $2,400. I really don't think there's much there. It doesn't project out well at all. And then Derek Hill, not much to see. Graham Pauley, maybe you get a little bit of the bottom, but really it's a 1.5, 2-man lineup. Don't like it at all. Going the other way, though, Mets, we're drawing some of these guys for sure. Against a minor league pitcher, if that, an untalented minor league pitcher, I think we can load up on some Mets, even if the conditions are working against us. And hopefully maybe that'll keep some people away. Francisco Lindor, we just grabbed 11.44 in the home run model. Slow start to the season. This has been the model with Lindor the last couple of years. If you remember the first 2-3 weeks of last season, the Mets all the Mets fans in real life wanted to trade him. And then he came out and had another excellent season. Start your lineup with Lindor, 5,400, 3,600. He hasn't really been discounted, but those are at worst fair prices for him. 6,000, 4,200 for Juan Soto is a bargain by any count. Home run, stolen base on the board, 385 on base to start his season. The best hitter in baseball, full stop. You just get Soto if you're going to the Mets, but you can go around him to at least some degree because you've got good bats in Pete Alonso with a monster home run mark. You've got further down the lineup Mark Vientos at still a very cheap price at 44.31 across sites with third base eligibility on DK, first and third base eligibility on FanDuel. You've got Jesse Winker, who is hitting the ball very hard to start the season in a few batted ball events. The swing speed has been up reportedly for Winker. There's a lot to like about Jesse Winker for just 3,000, 2,800 as a mix and match piece to alternate a spot in the lineup. So you can go around Soto if you wanted to, but you're going around literally the best hitter in baseball. Alonso, 30.8% barrels in his few batted ball events we've had so far this season. 13.2% strikeout rate. If he could ever maintain something like that, and again, these rates are meaningless at this point, but if he could maintain a dip from a 24% strikeout rate last year, 23% the year before, that would be a noteworthy improvement. More bat on ball from a hitter like that is always going to be welcome. 3 home runs on the board already this season, though one of them, I don't think he hit one yesterday, did he? He was a home run pick yesterday, that's why I asked. It's also why I went a different direction than picking another Met today. I was tempted, but I didn't want to go Mets back-to-back. If you don't remember Winker, 14 home runs, 14 steals last year, got on at a 360 clip over 508 plate appearances, was good at creating runs, 18% better than average. Had a down season here, had a down season there, but if we went back one more season, I think it was 21. Which line am I in? Yeah. These 485 plate appearances, that's his last year in Cincinnati. 305, 394, 556 with a 251, 24 home runs. Jesse Winker is a good left-handed bat who hits the ball hard, and I'm interested if his swing is truly picked up a little bit of bat speed. At these prices, very interested because he makes things work in a stack. You can drop him and Soto into your outfield and be pretty well off. You could alternatively grab these two guys, Nimmo and Winker, the two lefties, at a fair price for the combination. It's not an unreasonably expensive stack because you've got the Winkers and the Vientos prices to work with. Top end is definitely expensive, though. This is one of your pricier stacks on the slate. Down the bottom of the lineup, Luis Torrens, not much of an offensive catcher. I know he's got a home run on the board. He's barreled a couple balls this season. He did have a good hard hit rate last season, low strikeout rate. So you get quality of bat on ball, but that amounted to a handful of home runs in a handful of plate appearances. A little bit more of a complete role. Maybe he does more with it. Maybe we see some growth, but not somebody really chasing for offense. Brett Beatty and Jose Citi at the bottom of the lineup, though, very interesting. So this is an 8-deep lineup if it's this version. Second and third base on Citi on both sites, on Beatty, 29 and 2,200. Hasn't done anything in 21 plate appearances so far, but he's a guy who's capable of hitting the ball pretty hard from the left side of the plate. 9 home runs in 389 2 years ago, 4 home runs in a bad 171 plate appearances last year that kind of lost him his job. But getting fairly regular plate appearances right now needs to start making something happen, but a quality lefty bat to throw at Tyler Phillips. And then Jose City, before I went in and did what I did on the back end with Phillips, Jose City was also over the magic number. Probably didn't need to be, which is why I did what I did. It was also to wrangle these numbers into something sane. So if anything, the Mets actually have more power than what the model's currently showing you. Let's keep in mind, City, last year, 18 home runs, 14 steals, and 448 plate appearances, 25 and 12 2 years ago. Guy can hit. Hiding down the bottom of the Mets lineup at 2,900, 2,500, reasonable enough to wrap him around. More a guy who's going to drive these guys in than get on base and make a ton of stuff happen up there. But he's at least a capable discount spot. So a solid 8-man lineup. And on DraftKings, 2,500, you can get away with playing some loose throw ends. Kodai Senga, probably on his own up top, then Mets bats. And then really for me, it's nothing Marlins. I really don't see very much coming out of there. But if you're taking anything in a fish uniform, take bats. Mets lineup drop. Thanks, Cooch. And it's similar but different at the bottom. How about that? So Jose City's out of the lineup. Looks like we also got the KC one. I'll grab that while I'm here. Checked right before the show, but I didn't check before I started talking about that team. So a little bit different at the bottom. We've got Luis Angel Acuna in the lineup. Ronnie's younger brother. Big-time prospect for the Mets. Pull that back up real quick. So you get Tyrone Taylor, Jesse Winker in the lineup. Taylor has a little bit of pop in that bat from the right side, capable of driving the ball. He's an effective enough option at 2,700, 2,400. No loose ton ends. Instead, you get Hayden Singer. Singer off to a 286, 375, 429 start over his 8 plate appearances. I don't think we got any sample on him in the past. He was min price the other day when he dropped into the lineup. Let's just see if there's any kind of bat there. Singer is 28. He has never hit more than 5 home runs in a minor league season. I think we can skip over him outside of just a free square. But I would not expect much from that free square. He doesn't project out very well. So it's still an 8-man lineup. It's in a slightly different order with 2 different guys at the bottom, but both Tyrone Taylor, Luis Angel Acuna remain highly playable, and you actually get them in a slightly better order because you're not giving up the 7 spot to the bad catcher that you don't want to play. Moving on. So the Royals lineup is confirmed. Twins still not. Michael Lorenzen. Looks like an okay performance in the first game. What do the actual numbers look like? 7 strikeouts, give up 3 earned on a home run and 5 total hits. Walked 3, kind of meh. That was against Milwaukee. Similar kind of Twins lineup. There are maybe some strikeouts in there for him. But 21.5% so far this year, again, in very meaningless sample sizes. 24.6 from this same group of Twins hitters last year is probably the more accurate number. 26 for the year before. You can see a trend there. So maybe Lorenzen has the similar kind of a game where he comes away with 6-7 strikeouts, but a few runs, a little bit challenging. 7,100, 7,900. I think the DraftKings price is fine to take your shots. He's just one of those mid-range SP2 guys that just kind of floats through. He's neither overly appealing, nor is he overly, you got to run away from him. And he's appropriately priced for that. Twins pulling nearly a 4-run total, but under 4 is also encouraging. I don't completely hate the spot for Lorenzen. It's not a pitcher I really get excited about going to. If you look at some of the old numbers last year, just an 18.1% strikeout rate against 11.2% walks at a 3.31 ERA, but the real number underneath, 4.95 xFIP, is problematic. Not enough swinging strikes there each of the last 2 seasons. So to maintain anything like these high strikeout rate that we saw in the first game, we got to keep this up, the 12.4% swinging strike rate. That's obviously a bump. Stuff plus ticked up slightly from where it was last year in the 1-game sample, but obviously we're still below average. Nobody over 10 in the home run model is intriguing to me, just looking at it. You've got Wallner right at the 886. You've got Byron Buxton a little bit closer. Nobody else really drawing that much power against. Maybe helps with Lorenzen a little bit. Helps give me a little bit of faith in it. Playable at worst. On the other side, I really don't love the Simeon Woods-Richardson option. Last season, 20.6% strikeout rate. I know that's higher than Lorenzen's, 20.8 the year before. That's only 4 2/3. So really the only fair sample we've got is last year. 4.17 ERA with a 4.55 xFIP. Walked 8.5%. Really didn't induce many swinging strikes. Pretty bad CSW. I know, again, a lot of this is similar across sides. I just don't like targeting this Royals lineup. Fairly low strikeout. A lot of bats to respect. A lot of very good bat-on-ball players in this lineup. Fair amount of power, good amount of speed, ability to create runs. It's not a lineup I love to tangle with. 6,300 Woods Richardson, borderline playable at that price. One of the lowest projections on the board. 69 on FanDuel. I don't think we need to go there. I really don't see that much upside. First start, just went 4 innings, 5 strikeouts, walked 1, gave up 2 earned on 5 hits. It's a fine 4 innings, but are we getting much more than that? That was against the White Sox. So we get, what, a 5-inning version of that against a much better team? I like him to give up a couple of runs, not find that many Ks along the way. Dicey spot as far as the pitching. Would draw shares of Royals. 4.13 is enough meat on the bone implied runs-wise. You've got a superstar in the lineup along with several very high-end players. I already mentioned Sal Perez when somebody asked about catchers. 4,300 for Sal? Sign me up. That is a cheap price where you have to play the catcher position, and he's still got the eligibility. 11.5% barrels in a tiny sample. Looks like 12.2% from last year. Strikeouts are up in the tiny sample by about 10 points. That'll come back down to earth and be in the 20 to 25% range, let's say. He's got a home run on the board, which is nice to see. He was at 27 home runs with a 185 ISO last year, 23 the year before with a 167. A lot of power still left in that Sal Perez bat. Pasquantino, not the best start. Not exactly what I was hoping for to begin his season. 207, 294, 414, but that's 34 plate appearances deep. Means nothing. 207 ISO is nice. He's driven the ball a little bit. As we've talked about a bunch of times, Vinny Pasquantino's ability to make contact with the ball is the only thing that really matters. If he can continue what he's doing right here in that barrel rate, 12%, and again, this is over like 10 batted ball events, so it doesn't matter if that. But if he can continue to elevate the ball and claim a few more barrels along the way, we are talking about a 30 home run hitter. He's got that kind of power. He does not really strike out that much. He draws a fair amount of walks, but 7.2 last year, 9.6 the year before. It's just tons and tons of super premium contact. 4,600 is cheap. 3,300 is fair. Jonathan India with his ability to get on base. Talked about this day one of this season. Talked about this all last year when it was Michael Garcia in this spot. India, over 40 plate appearances so far, doing exactly what we wanted him to do for this lineup. 375 on base. Creating runs 3% better than average in the teeny tiny sample. You don't get a ton of other things from India, but you can get some counting stats here and there. 15 homers, 13 steals last year is not nothing. But just pairing him, having his ability to get on and create situations for these 3 or 4 bats that we really like right here is very appealing. It changes this lineup. You can get the 5-man right off the top if you include Massey. Yeah, you can play all those guys together. That's a $4,600 a man lineup that includes Sal Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, Bobby Witt Jr., and then Jonathan India, who's a desirable enough DFS guy on his own. And then you're throwing Michael Massey in. And Michael Massey drives the ball effectively from the left side, also doesn't strike out, doesn't really walk. So you're talking about a lot of high-quality bat-on-ball out of him. And it's going up against all these guys, going up against a pitcher who, as mentioned, ignore this, 20% strikeout rate from last year. Plenty of bat-on-ball available to these guys today. I like the upside for the top end of the Royals lineup here. Gets a little bit shakier around Hunter Renfroe. Renfroe last season struck out under a 20% rate. That's a little bit of an improvement for him. But we dipped as far as the power goes. He went down to 15 home runs last year, a 164 ISO. I don't know that the power's ever really coming back to where it once was, but maybe we get like a 18, 20 home run season out of him. He's a still capable, very affordable, easy to play right-handed bat, but he's not a priority in this lineup. MJ Melendez from the left side is interesting. 45% hard hits last year, 49.6 the year before with 11.4% barrels on top of it. He just struggles to really turn it into anything, struggles to turn it into any kind of consistency. 17 home runs last year and 451 plate appearances is great. 194 ISO is good, but an 85 WRC plus comes from a 273 on base, 206, 273, 400 in the slash line. It's just atrocious. 16 home runs and similar problems the year before. So MJ's got growth to do, but the raw skills are there for DFS purposes at 3,000 at 2,500, drawing the big lefty bat against a weak righty. Perfectly fine to go to, if not desirable. I would rather have MJ from the left, I think, than Hunter Renfroe in this spot from the right for same price on FanDuel, 100 cheaper on DraftKings, even sacrificing a lineup spot. And then Michael Garcia, very, very playable from late in the lineup. He's gotten on base a little bit to begin the year, 387 on base over his 31 plate appearances, 2 home runs on the board, a stolen base on the board. Who knows? Maybe this is the breakout. We've talked about him plenty. No on-base skills whatsoever on display last year, but still managed to steal 37 bases. Was at the top of the lineup for most of the season, but belongs more in this territory. 46, second or third base. Put him at second base for those prices. If you're not actually on DraftKings, you go second base with India at third or in the outfield. I guess you could rotate that the other way too. Third base and outfield. And then on FanDuel, you probably, you could just go outfield with India and Garcia at second base. The point being, I don't love Garcia at third base, given the skill set. I want more power out of my third baseman. Kyle Isbell, mix and match piece at the bottom of the lineup. No real consideration there. If you're looking at the Twin side, going up against Lorenzen, as I went through, Lorenzen, plenty of gettability for him too. It's not up on labs yet. Let's see. Can I grab it quick? Yeah, here we go. So yeah, we can throw, the point being, we can throw some Twins bats right back at Lorenzen. And it's probably a situation where maybe like a 2-for-1. Every 2 shares of Lorenzen that you grab, make sure that you get a Twin stack. And don't get me wrong, I'm not wildly enthusiastic about Lorenzen. I just think it's a playable spot. I don't think it's even a good spot necessarily. Walner, Correa, Buxton, Larnach, Ty France, Jose Miranda, no Willie Castro. Oh yeah, Castro goes down a spot. So scratch Ryan Jeffers from that catcher list. Does he have the H or not? I forget. I think he has the H. He does. Okay. So the confirmed Twins lineup, mostly the same till we get down to this territory. But again, losing Ryan Jeffers, that is a home run capable catcher bat that you have to scratch off the list of capable catchers. Every now and then, Christian Vasquez can turn on one, but you can see it in the barrel rates, the contact profile from the last couple of years. It's pretty infrequent these days. Came away with 7 of them last year in 315 plate appearances, 6 the year before in 355, 9 going back in time even further. So not much of a catcher bat from the Twins. He costs nothing at the bottom of the lineup. If you just need a free square catcher, he's playable, but that's it. Wallner's appealing up top. Talked about him already a couple times this season, but extreme barrel rates in moderate samples the last 2 seasons. Getting basically the full-time role up at the top of the lineup. Love the spot for him. Last year in 261 plate appearances, 372 on base is dynamite for any kind of a hitter. And if that's a power hitter who can make contact like he does, 13 home runs in just 261, a 264 ISO, that's a Kyle Schwarber clone with fewer strikeouts. Well, no, last year it was more strikeouts, 36.4%. So for this year, 22.9 was the number that caught the eye. I got to remember that I added these boxes. 36.4 last year, 31.5. So maybe it's just a Kyle Schwarber clone. But the dude can rip the ball. 8.86 in the home run model. That could easily have been a 10 against this pitcher. Carlos Correa for 4,500, 3,400. A little bit discounted on DraftKings, I would say, fairly priced on FanDuel. The start to this season, we don't worry about. Carlos Correa is always good. As long as he's healthy, he's just going to hit the ball hard. A lot of line drives. The occasional home run. He hit 14 homers last year, but came away with a 207 ISO. ISO's not all about home runs. It's just extra base hits. It's your power measure. Created runs 56% better than average in 367 plate appearances. And if you'd given him a full season, we would have been looking at, putting the label MVP caliber numbers is a bit of a stretch, but he was at 310, 388, 517 with 14 homers in essentially half a season. So we extrapolate that out, and anything like this continues, that is a monster year. People don't remember how good Carlos Correa really is. Ever since that weird thing with his physical when he was going to come to the Mets, and then he's been injured, but not from those injuries. It's a weird situation the last couple of years. Byron Buxton, when he's healthy, still a star. Home run on the board this year. Out of the gate, not exactly fast, over 35 plate appearances, but we will see the numbers come around for sure if we just get him for any kind of time. A couple decent batted ball events so far with a 9.1% barrel, 45.5% hard hit. Trevor Larnach, we're looking at another quality power bat from the left side. 6.09 in the home run model for just 3,500, 2,800. Hyper playable lefty bat. If you're stacking this lineup, top 5, just go that route. Actually, I would probably not go Ty France. Probably go those guys and then maybe grab Willie Castro at second base. If you go that route, 4,000 a piece for a lineup that includes Wallner, Correa, Buxton, Larnach. Cheap Twins. Ty France is playable. I skipped over him. He's more a hit tool guy, and the hit tools kind of eluded him for the last 18 months or so. That's why he's so cheap. But if he's going to be hitting in the middle of a lineup that we're going to, you don't take him out. You don't really skip him that many times. He's in a very effective spot in this batting order with a bat that that does have the skill set to come through. He's always been fairly low strikeout, decent ability to put bat on ball. Just needs to pick it back up again. So any given lineup, I do think there's playability on Ty France. Jose Miranda is probably a slightly better version of that same thing, a hit tool line drive kind of a hitter. Neither guy displaying very much in 34 and 25 plate appearances so far this year. Either guy very playable at their respective positions. That said, I do prefer guys who hit for a little bit more power at both those positions. Both those guys more doubles hitters. Castro is just a hyper flexible guy. You can play him for a little bit of home run upside, a little bit of stolen base upside, 12 and 14 last year. Created runs 8% better than average. Fills 3 positions on FanDuel for a cheap price, 2 on DraftKings. Harrison Bader, an average outfielder. He's got 3 home runs on the board in just 24 plate appearances. If he keeps up that pace, I will give everybody watching this show $1. How many people are watching this show? Okay, I can afford that. It's all to God. What's going on, buddy? Lone Wolf likes the Vasquez catcher value. Yeah, again, like I said, he's just free. If you're just looking to box off catcher with a free guy, perfectly fine. But you're getting the bottom of the lineup, so know that you're getting 3 and change plate appearances that are highly likely to be a 0 for that price. So buy something really nice with the money you saved. I would say this goes Royals bats, Twins bats, Michael Lorenzen, Simeon Woods Richardson. All 4 things are playable. Lorenzen more playable in my mind than Simeon Woods. Royals bats more playable than Twins bats, but bats more playable than pitching. We have these lineups. Doesn't look like it. All right. So, as mentioned, this is the disgusting weather game. You can see it in the run totals. Even with these 2 pitchers on the mound in a neutral park environment, these run totals would not be this low. So just a disaster for bats in this game. 2.86 implied total, 3.21 implied total. Really, really rough. 15 mile an hour sustained, 30 mile an hour wind gusts blowing in from left field. Temperatures at freezing. Snow in the forecast. We might not even see this game happen. If you're going to this spot, I think you're only looking at pitching. It just gets really rough. Where the hell did... there. Nathan Eovaldi, as mentioned, 9 innings in his most recent start, faced 30 hitters, 4-hitter, complete game shutout, struck out 8. Through 99 pitches, the Rangers don't mind breaking pitchers. In his second start of the season, they were talking about it on the Yankee broadcast the other day. You used to see pitchers build up to like 120 pitches. You get out of spring training, you're at like 100, and then you add more to the 100. These days, these guys are coming out of camp with 75 pitches in their pocket. So to see Eovaldi spike a 99-pitch complete game shutout in start 2 was shocking. He went 6, faced 21 hitters, had a good start in his first one as well, struck out 9 in that game, gave up a homer, 2 earned on the 3 hits, but was dynamite over 6 innings against Boston. So I think we can go right back there with Eovaldi, especially at 87 on DraftKings with all this condition information on his side. Definitely an interesting spot. And this is a Cubs lineup that you guys know I like. We've gone to this Cubs team a bunch already this year. But you can see how they're undercut by the situation in terms of the projections, in terms of the home run model. There are some strikeouts here, but not a ton. So if we're just looking for the pure like raw strikeout upside of the situation, that's something that's not necessarily improved by the environmental factors. These guys can still put bat on ball. Ball just doesn't necessarily travel as far. But these are effective, low strikeout, good on base hitters in the Cubs lineup. So we do still have to remember that when we think through the situation. Eovaldi, 24% strikeouts last year, 23% the year before. Not a fantastic sit him down via the strikeout type pitcher. Effective enough, but not necessarily, again, if this game was in a neutral environment, I'd probably be looking at least a little bit more at the Cubs bats and trying to get a little contrarian with them and maybe talking in more negative terms about Eovaldi. So far this season, just a 20.4% strikeout rate. Again, this is meaningless, but you've got a super low strikeout guy like Nico who will come up from here, but 10%, 12% the last 2 seasons. You have 10% on Kyle Tucker right now, but last 2 years, 15 and 13%, so he's effectively low strikeout. Everybody else, there is some gettability on, though. Mid-20s guys through here. You drop down to Miguel Amaya at the bottom. It's kind of an irrelevant hitter, but he was a mid-teens guy last year, but a 25% guy 2 years ago. I don't know what that sample size looks like. So there are some Ks to go find, but there's also strong walk rates through all of these guys over multiple seasons. Eovaldi is yet to walk anybody this season. Last year, 6%. Year before, 8.1%. Very strong strikeout to walk ratio guy. So this is kind of a collision of different factors working against one another when it comes down to that. I think my lean, though, does favor Eovaldi, given the situational part of it. 87 on DraftKings is a very strong price. 10-8, we hope that we're paying up to be contrarian a little bit on FanDuel. I'm sure he'll still be popular, but not as popular as if he would be kind of more sanely priced. That is an aggressively high price. All right. I can deal with this ownership projection. Single digits. And we see people chase this Wrigley spot, so that's encouraging that he's single digits on FanDuel. I would expect it's at least double, triple on DraftKings. Nah, it's about double. But it's still manageable. It's 5th or 6th guy down the list. I'm a little bit surprised. I would expect it's going to be higher than what the forecasted number there, which is like mid-teens, looks like. I'm betting he's going to crack 20% on DraftKings. Justin Steele making his 4th start of the season. As mentioned, pitched in the Tokyo series. Last time out, 6 2/3, struck out 6. Gave up 4 earned, 2 home runs. That was to the Athletics. The 6 2/3 is encouraging, though. He's a little bit more stretched out than your average pitcher. Faced 28 hitters in that one. But 7 hits, not the best. He's walked exactly 1 hitter in each of his first 3 starts, handful of strikeouts, but a 19.4% strikeout rate. Not exactly a dominant type pitcher, but he's an effective pitcher at keeping the ball in the yard 4.2% barrels, just 32.7% hard hits, 86.9 miles an hour of exit velo last year. Fairly similar numbers the year before. 2.16% home run rate last year, 1.96 the year before. Again, just good at inducing weak and medium and soft contact, good at keeping the ball down at least to moderate degrees, 12.3 degree average launch last year, 9.3 the year before. Has been effective in the launch angle department so far in a handful of starts this season. A little bit of hard hit, a little bit of exit velo, and a couple of home runs allowed. But he's got those attributes in the larger sample, so it's not something we worry about. You can see in the small sample stuff plus up a little bit from where he was last year, just slightly below average. So he's got an average-ish arsenal, but he's got a few very strong attributes for limiting offense against. So typically when you're getting 7 innings out of Justin Steele, or at least that shot at the 7th inning, you can play him up a little bit more. It compounds his overall projection. He's not expensive, 7,700, 7,100. The opposing team is at a 2.86 implied total. There are strikeouts there for him to go find. 22.1% so far this year, 23.5% for this lineup last year. At price, I don't mind Justin Steele. He could be a little bit more expensive, and I think I'd still be interested. 7,100 on FanDuel, pretty cheap. I suspect he is very popular. Let's see. Slightly more popular than Evaldi, it looks like, into the 20s on DK, but again, not really topping out in these projections. Yeah, a lot of playability in terms of the public doesn't really seem to be on this spot. Maybe are they just fading it because they're worried that it's just going to get snowed out or rained out or whatever? Kind of curious. Given where the ownership numbers publicly are right now, I kind of like either one of these pitchers quite a bit. And again, we're really not going bats in this game, given the terrible hitting conditions, given the low implied totals. But if we are going bats, Corey Seager is a very obvious starting point from the Rangers. Their best player, their star. And you've got a lot to work with around him. Marcus Semien hit his first home run of the season the other day. Nice to see a little bit of life out of him. 47.33. He's priced down for the scuffles last year for the 40 plate appearance slow start this season. Again, nothing this season matters yet. But pairing him with Seager and filling out your middle infield that way is always a way to go when you go to this Rangers team. Just a terrible day to do that. Wyatt Langford, 4,200 is way too cheap on DraftKings. Keep that in mind for, let's say, we get better hitting conditions tomorrow. Langford's already hit 3 home runs, stolen 2 bases. He's got a 265 ISO going, a 128 WRC plus so far. A lot of quality batted ball events so far. This was one of the top prospects in baseball last year. He had a good, not great first season in the game, but signs of growth early on, signs of growth all through the spring. He was one of the more popular forecasted breakout guys of the year. Very, very aggressively cheap on DraftKings, and that's not a today thing if you look at the other guys' prices. Grab him while he's cheap. When you go to Rangers. Again, terrible day to go to Rangers. Luis Garcia, Jake Berger, tons of power upside from those two hitters. Very differently priced, 51 versus 38, 36 versus 27. Similar power upside, similar power output. Adelis has more over the last couple seasons, but Berger had a hell of a year last year, 30-plus home runs. So far this year, Adelis has 2 on the board. Berger also has 2. Neither guy has hit very much. Both way sub Mendoza in their 36 and 37 plate appearances. Give them a little bit of time. I think they'll come around. Excellent as far as batted ball events. Tons and tons of power upside. 12+% barrel rates from both those hitters last year. 47.9 and 46.8% hard hits. You get tons of power upside from the heart of the Rangers lineup. Kevin Pillar, Ezekiel Duran, Kyle Higashioka, Jonathan Ornelas. Mix and match to the nth degree all the way down the rest of this lineup in a terrible ballpark for baseball today, at least for offense today. Really don't like going down that part of the lineup. If you do, I do think Higgy would be a playable catcher, sort of. But what we're looking for from Higgy is that cheap knock, right? We're looking for one of these cheap 17 home runs that we got last year. Had 10 exactly in fewer plate appearances each of the 2 seasons before that, but had always made quality contact with double-digit barrel rates that we had always talked about. Had the little breakout last year, but if we're just home run hunting, don't go to the worst environment possible to find that home run. It doesn't really add up. Kevin Pillar is just kind of skippable in the outfield. Same with Duran, same with Ornelas. Mix and match quality at best. You do have a min-priced infielder on both sites down there, just somebody to keep in mind if you just, again, need a free square. But bottom of the lineup in the worst hitting environment imaginable. Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki is your easy 3-man off the top of the Cubs. Happ, excellent on base skills, decent power upside as well, just as an individual hitter. You can always get to some Ian Happ as a one-off, as part of stacks. He's a priority. Kyle Tucker, out to an outrageous start in his first year in Chicago. Over 59 plate appearances. He's a 319, 458, 745 with a 426 ISO, a 225 WRC plus, 5 homers, 3 stolen bases, partridge, pear tree, etc. Seiya Suzuki, 5,000, 3,500, squares the ball up very effectively. 4 home runs already this year is interesting to see from him. If he's going to be elevating the ball a little bit more, that's going to be really, really interesting because the power is very real. The contact ability is very real. So I like to say Suzuki's upside here. 3,500 on FanDuel is fair. 5,000 on DraftKings, basically the same price. Michael Busch at 4,000, 2,900. Home run on the board, stolen base, getting on base, creating runs a little bit. Definitely plenty of room for growth given the 11.2% barrels from last year, nearly a 40% hard hit. Just not the spot, not the day. I'd be more excited to grab some Michael Busch shares against Nathan Eovaldi if we had any kind of upside from the day. And then it's basically the same read going down the bottom of this lineup. I do like Dansby Swanson. We've already seen 3 home runs out of Dansby, which is a nice sign. 261 ISO out of the down year last year. Hopefully the skills hadn't eroded, and that's 3 home runs is encouraging to think that they haven't. Then Nico Hoerner, mix and match quality at best. You need the stolen bases. You need the help from his friends. He does have 6 steals on the season. He is running. He is getting on base. So it's there. But he's very shaky DFS-wise, especially if nobody's going to be driving him in with a big knock. And then Crow Armstrong just has not turned into a hitter yet. It's very early this season. We'll give him time, but needs a lot of growth. Matt Shaw, capable prospect. We'll see what he actually turns into. Just not the day for it. And then Miguel Amaya, skippable catcher. I gotta go with, I'm going to lean just to the projections and say Eovaldi over Steele, but it's very, very close. And if that price matters to you, it's the same. No real difference. So either way, I would just rather, then I would have said Steele because I would rather probably target the Rangers lineup. Yeah, just slight edge in the projections for Eovaldi, but it's very, very close. Neither team for the bats. I don't see it. Cubs lineup is out. Oh, that one actually dropped on Labs. All right, John Birdie in the lineup is essentially the exact same thing as having Nico Hoerner in the lineup. So you're the same 1 through 5 where you would want to be focused. Miguel Amaya moving up is not helpful to anybody in the universe. Crow Armstrong in the same spot. Birdie is, as mentioned, is essentially the same thing as having Nico Hoerner. And Gage Workman, dead min priced on FanDuel at 2,000. Do we have anything from Workman now? Gage Workman, 18 homers in Double-A last year in Detroit system, 30 stolen bases over 556 plate appearances. Straight from Double-A to the show, it looks like. The traditional prospect report reads weird. This is old. Oh no, this is a 2025 report. Interesting. Workman is an elite third base defender with power, and then they give him a 40 grade power on the 2080. That's a little strange. Look, if you're fishing for Cubs for reasons, I guess you can include some Gage Workman at the bottom of the lineup, especially on FanDuel where he's the dead min price because there's a little bit of pop there. But it's just not the day to be rostering bats from any bats at Wrigley at all. Can't skip the Orioles game. Let's see, we got lineups. Don't see any lineups for this one up yet. Check out the site, by the way, rotoscouts.com, if anybody new out there. Access to everything under $1 a day. Gets you access to baseball projections, access to the home run model numbers that come with those. top stacks, power index, my home run picks. Plus you get the rest of NBA, the rest of NHL, every single main slate through the playoffs. NFL when that comes back. Anything else I think to add to the site. Under $1 a day on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly. Check it out. rotoscouts.com. Follow the Rotoscouts Twitter handle too. Hit the like button here too. Not to harass you guys about doing stuff. Zach Eflin on the bump for the Orioles, 6,900, 8,000. Just the Diamondbacks working against him here. He's an okay, serviceable kind of pitcher, 19.6% strikeout rate, but didn't really walk anybody last year. Made him effective, 3.59 ERA with a 3.81 xFIP. Moderate strikeout guy. He's a guy who can get you through. He's an effective real life, like fourth starter type. Year before, a little bit more effective, 26.5% strikeout rate against the 3.4% walk. If you get that guy, then you've got something. But really, Eflin is more this type. You're going to land probably in this kind of territory over the long term. You'd see stuff plus a little bit below average, was average-ish in terms of home runs and premium contact allowed. On the right day, you can get away with Eflin. I don't think throwing him against the Diamondbacks makes this the right day. First 2 starts of the season, went 6 in both games. Struck out 5 against Boston in his most recent. Gave up 3 earned on 8 hits, a home run allowed a home run in the first game as well, and only struck out 2. That was against Toronto. Against a low strikeout, high-quality Diamondbacks team, I really don't think we tangle with it that much. Where I would look at him is DraftKings, 6,900. As mentioned, he's the most potentially effective cheap pitcher at that price. So that, I think, is playable. This is playable, but there's a lot more right there. So I really don't like the Eflin play on the FanDuel side. But at 6,900 on DraftKings, that is effectively cheap for a guy who could get through this lineup 2.5 times and find a few Ks along the way. But this projected version of the Diamondbacks last year, 19.1% strikeouts so far. This year, 17.2, and that includes Pavin Smith at 41.7, which is aggressively high for him. It's going to settle in around a 20% strikeout rate for this lineup when it's all said and done. There are walks here. There's power here. So not an easy spot for Eflin going into the desert against this team. On the other side, Gallen, it's probably a little bit higher end of a starter in terms of the career history. 25% strikeouts last year over 148 innings in 28 starts, 26% over 200 plus innings 2 years ago, and nearly 27% in 184 innings in 31 starts from 3 years back. So there is quality for strikeouts. I'm just never the biggest Gallen guy. He allows a fair amount of hard hits, allows a fair amount of barrels, gets himself into trouble from time to time, has this ability to tap dance through it a lot of the time. 3.65 ERA with a 3.62 xFIP, right? Everything, there's nothing to 3.47, 3.49. This is what I mean. It's all just exactly what it looks like on the surface, which is so tenuous if you watch the guy pitch most of the time, given the hard hits, the exit velo that he allows, the not too low launch angle typically. But he doesn't really allow that many home runs. However, he manages to make that happen. So he's better than I probably give him credit for, but I don't know that he's as good as other people give him credit for. 8,300 I think is the more fair price. 9,800 I would pay and will probably use, but I'm not wild about it on FanDuel, especially against a high quality lineup like this Orioles team. So not my favorite spot overall on a short but deep pitching slate. I think I'd rather draw bats. 411 total for the Orioles, 448 for the Diamondbacks. Playable on both sides. Orioles are, I'm going to say, not expensive. Everybody in the lineup under 5,000 on the DraftKings slate, except for Gunnar at 55. So if I get Gunnar, Adley, Westberg, let's say Mullins and Tyler O'Neill, I'm at 48 a piece. That's on the higher side, but for the full 5-man with that kind of quality in the 5-man, you could easily lower that by going Ryan O'Hearn over, say, Cedric Mullins. 4,700, it comes down by $100. And you can get cheaper with some of these parts down here. You put 2 of those guys in instead of, let's say, Tyler O'Neill. It's a lot of flexibility here. And it is a 9-man lineup. It's a 9-man lineup with 3 or 4 guys on the bench that could join the lineup and continue to be a 9-man lineup. This team is deep. So regardless of what rolls out for the Orioles, and I'm taking a look if it's confirmed, it is not. Pretty much regardless of what rolls out, I think he can get there against Gallen. My hope would be that it's a little bit tournament-y and we can get them at somewhat low ownership. Let's see. Nope. I'm going to say that's not the case. That was the hope. I don't know that I agree. Well, it's really only Gunnar and Westberg in these RG projections are like massively highly owned, which leads me to question the entire projection, because why wouldn't some of the other guys in the stack be owned? I'm kind of skeptical that they'll be that popular against Gallen here. I kind of like it. Gunnar is a superstar. Ignore the 13 plate appearances so far this year. He's just getting warmed up, but we're not going to skip him if we're going to Orioles. Last season, at a monster, 37 homers, 21 steals, 155 WRC plus. Adley, 2 home runs right out of the gate, first couple games of the season. Decent start over 39 plate appearances after what was widely perceived as a down season last year, and it's more just a down season for him. As I said the other day, if you showed this line to somebody from 1955 and said, hey, this is my catcher, they would have been like, oh my God, guy's good. Jordan Westberg, 4,800, 3,600 across sites, appropriately priced for the quality that we've gotten out of him. 3 home runs on the board already this year with a fantastic triple slash, just basically continuing his production from last year. 18 homers last year. Very solid, effective hitter at second base. I like him at second better than I like him at third. I think you put his quality at second base and then buy yourself a good third baseman to go with him, rather than taking it the other way around and weakening second base. Cedric Mullins at 4,534. 3 homers, 2 steals on the board, doing Cedric Mullins things out there. Always a player I'm willing to consider because he's never fully priced. That said, on FanDuel, he has actually crept up there. DraftKings at 45 is still a little bit inexpensive for a former 30-30 guy. Ryan O'Hearn, effective bat on ball, 2,600, 3,700. He's always going to be lingering in that price range. Drives the ball in, cog in the machine kind of a guy for this lineup. Tyler O'Neill, tremendous power upside, 7.08 in the home run model. Not flashing a ton of it today. He's got 1 home run on the board this year so far. Barreled the ball 23.1% of the time in his batted ball events so far this year. That's all we want from Tyler O'Neill. Just give me health, give me those barrels. Everything else will come through. 31 home runs last year in just 473 plate appearances. Hopefully he's not going to run like at all this year. He used to be okay for stolen bases because he's deceptively fast for his size, but he just gets hurt too frequently, so just don't let him run. Houston Kjerstad, highly playable at 31-23. He's off to an okay 20 plate appearances. Ryan Mountcastle, we're looking for the power to come back. We haven't seen it yet, but at least he's hitting a little bit in 35 chances so far. And then Jackson Holliday, home run, stolen base on the board in 31. Another kid who primed to really, really break out and cast off any of those illusions that he was a bust of a prospect last year. On the Diamondback side, we kind of know at least most of the top of this lineup, but Geraldo Perdomo moving up the lineup is kind of interesting. He's a very effective bat. Hit a grand slam in the 8th inning the other day against the Yanks. That was his home run. That's a handful of his RBIs. What's really interesting about Perdomo, and we talk about it a lot when he's at the bottom of the lineup, is his on-base skills. 344 on base last year, 353 the year before. It's a dude who reaches first base very effectively. I would actually probably have him hitting ahead of Corbin Carroll because Carroll's got more true power, more realistic power upside, and is the better overall hitter. So I would probably go Perdomo 1, Carroll 2. I think they did that the other day. But in either order, both of those guys, highly playable as a unit. I just think you'd get the on-base guy who's more on-base exclusive, and then the guy who does a little bit of everything to drive him in. Carroll at 57-38, especially if you're pairing it with the rest of the stack. I mean, just putting him with those next 2 guys in a 3-man already brings that down to a $4,200 Corbin Carroll. I don't mind $4,200 for Geraldo Perdomo, and Pavin Smith can pay off $4,200. So you're just making Carroll cheap by doing that. That's a very effective 3-man. Pavin Smith hasn't hit any home runs this year, but a lot of barrels, a lot of hard hits so far. Again, very tiny sample of batted ball events, but 14.7% barrels, 44% hard hits. This is Pavin Smith just doing what he does. The sample's small. The results aren't. Last year, 9 home runs in 158 plate appearances while slashing 270, 348, 547, 277 ISO. The guy's always been able to hit. Having a full-time job has been the problem. Josh Naylor from the left side, tons of power upside there. Metro Boom 808 says, got to pay that bag for Evaldi. Wanted to pick Texas, but that weather. Yeah, that's it. I know these are older comments in the chat there, but yeah, that Wrigley weather is just a killer for those bats. Two teams that I do like stacking for DFS in the right spots, though. So Naylor at 47, tons of power upside, an odd 3 stolen bases, lumbering around the bases. But we're just looking at Josh Naylor really for power. He's cheap. 47 is fair. 31 is downright cheap for Josh Naylor's upside against Zach Eflin. I don't mind that. I think we can get away with some Josh Naylor shares, and definitely kind of a priority bat if you're going to Diamondbacks. Lourdes Gurriel at 43, 3,000. An effective bat-on-ball type hitter. Decent slash line in terms of the front end with the batting average over the last few years. Decent home run totals. A little bit of a dip last year, but 43, 3,000. Effective enough for those prices. 2 home runs on the board so far this year. Driving the ball a little bit with a 205 ISO. Playable. I don't know why he's not coming up for those barrel numbers. I think I did this. Don't know why he's not in there. We'll examine that later. Johnny Suarez, 29.2% barrel rate so far this year. Again, irrelevant sample size, but 5 home runs. The slash line leaves a lot to be desired. Has not seen much success with batting average on balls in play. But all we're really paying Johannios for is to drive the ball over the wall, and he's very good at doing that. So just pick off a cheap home run, 4,700, 3,900 is very expensive on FanDuel, so a different play across sites. 6.18, one of the better home run marks in the Diamondbacks lineup. Jake McCarthy, Gabriel Moreno, and then Garrett Hampson filling in at the bottom of the lineup. McCarthy and Moreno are playable. Moreno's a good catcher bat. 3,400, not a bad price. 2,300, you can mix him in on FanDuel. I don't love the idea of doubling up first base from this team. I would rather have, I would go Smith in the outfield, Naylor at first base. I don't know that I would use like all 3 guys with one in the util spot, going to Gabriel Moreno there. And I don't know that I would go like Moreno and Pavin Smith in the outfield. I think I pretty much want Josh Naylor in most of those. And then it would be a matter of like Naylor and maybe a few Naylor, Moreno in the util spot. Not an ideal setup for this team on FanDuel, though. Where you have to play catchers, for 3,400, Gabriel Moreno is kind of an appealing bat. Good hit tool, good on-base skills. Not the best spot in the lineup, but he's appealing enough. Garrett Hampson is just a mix-and-match hit tool guy. He's cheap, and he fills 4 positions on FanDuel. That's his real only attribute. 4 corners game for sure. Both pitchers are playable. I will go... Yeah, Diamondbacks bats, Orioles bats, Gallen, then Eflin. But for the pitchers, I would probably say Eflin DK goes above Gallen in general. So it's probably bats, Eflin DraftKings, Gallen on both sites, Eflin on FanDuel, I think. Just because that being the cheapest price for a playable pitcher on the board. One of these things not quite like the others. Hayden Wesneski, 7,500, 7,400. Projects out actually okay, partly because of this free-swinging Mariners team just pushing a little bit of strikeout projection in his direction. Just not what I would really be looking for as a pitcher. 5 innings in his first start. He struck out 6, but he walked 3. He gave up 3 earned on 2 hits, including a home run. If we're looking at him last year, 23.7% Ks, 3.86 ERA with a 3.93 xFIP, 10.9% swinging, gave up too much power, too much premium contact. Small sample, 67 2/3 over 7 starts, 89 1/3 the year before. More problematic in terms of the home runs, more problematic in terms of barrels, 4.63 ERA, 4.35 xFIP, fewer strikeouts, more walks. So a little bit of year-over-year growth, but not a ton. We're talking about 140 innings over 2 seasons, 15 starts. It's actually a lot of innings for that number of starts. Some of that in relief? It's got to be. Yeah, he works some in relief here. So it's 75, 74. I do think you could throw some darts, just given the Mariners' strikeout downside. 26.8% strikeout rate for this projected Mariners lineup last year. They're out to a 23.5% start this season, and that's with Jorge Polanco. at 13.6%, that's not going to hold. Look at where Polanco was the last 2 seasons. He's not going to suddenly be this guy. There's plenty of strikeouts here for Wisniewski. I just don't love the option. If he was at like Eflin's price, this would be a more compelling DraftKings spot. I think he's playable here. The park is on his side. This is a pitcher-friendly park. Sub 4 total on the other side. But what's working against him to me, I kind of like the idea of some of these Mariners for power upside. I made Luke Raley the home run pick of the day at 9.69 in the home run model. I want to get a little bit off the board with it. He's got 1 on the season. What I like about Luke Raley is that he drives the ball very effectively. He's a part-time player. He's pretty much platoon on the strong side of platoons. But he's always driven the ball effectively. What we were hoping for is that we would get like a full 600 plate appearance season. They were talking about that in the spring, just letting him fly against lefties this year. And so far he's sat against every lefty. But against a weak righty who struggles with home runs in the show, yeah, some cheap Luke Raley at 32, first base only on DraftKings, 26, outfield and first base. Home run pick of the day. Let's go. More power showing at the top of the lineup, of course. Julio Rodriguez, 12.4. Cal Raleigh, 12.8 in the home run model. They've got 5 combined, or the same number as Eugenio Suarez has on his own this season. But Julio out to an okay start. 297 ISO, 145 WRC plus is encouraging. He's stolen 3 bases to go with the home runs. Cal Raleigh has stolen 2 bases to go with his 2 home runs. That's a little bit odd. Yeah, he had 6 last year. We're not looking for Cal for his blazing speed. We are looking for him for his thunderous bat, though. 15.4% barrels, 48.1% hard hits last year. There are definitely strikeouts there, but he draws his walks effectively. He's a 3 true outcomes type catcher. You could do a lot worse than rostering Cal Raleigh at 4,200, 2,900 across sites. You play him like he's their first baseman on FanDuel. J.P. Crawford at the top is a playable shortstop, 32.25. You're just looking for a little bit of power output. You'd like the on-base skills to come through. 361 to start the season is strong. Dipped to 304 last year, but was a 380 on-base guy the year before that. 9 home runs last year, just problematic across the board last season. Very good in 2023, though. 266, 384, 38, hit 19 home runs. We get that version of J.P. Crawford back. He is downright cheap going up against Hayden Wisniewski. Another lefty bat with some power upside, so definitely can start your Mariner stack with him. If he's down here at the bottom of the lineup, he's a little bit less appealing. I would expect he's probably going to be up here. Victor Robles, if you saw, made an amazing catch in left field and then went into the netting and hurt his shoulder. Probably going on the IL. So we probably get Crawford back up at the top. Randy Arozarena, 4,100, 3,100. That's an interesting price to find Randy Arozarena. He's made some decent contact early in the season, which is nice to see since he dipped for it last year. You want to see him just start out hot like this and continue that as far as the quality of bat on ball. The strikeouts are always going to be there, but he draws his walks. Can definitely create runs in a positive sense. He had a 114 WRC plus despite the dip last year. Slash just 219, 332, 388. Saving grace was the 332, but also still went 20-20. That in a lot of ways is a very good season. So for DFS purposes, definitely a cheap Randy Arozarena against this pitcher. Very interesting. Jorge Polanco, second base, third base for 42, 28 on FanDuel. Does have 2 home runs on the board. Player that we liked once upon a time. Going back a ways. Even further. Yeah, there it is. Got to go all the way back to 2021, but he hit 33 home runs that year, stole 11 bases, 235 ISO, and a 122 WRC plus. Was okay this season. The 119 WRC plus is great, but dipped for power. Dipped across the board in the triple slash, but was still getting on base. Did that the following season, and then it kind of died on the vine last season and never really arrived. We were talking about him throughout last season, saying maybe we get there, maybe we get there. Never fully did. The 14 home runs and 343 plate appearances, took an injury in 23, missed time, and it just never really fully came back. I'm not completely writing him off, or wasn't going into the season, and this is an encouraging 22 plate appearances. That's really all you can say about him. The strikeouts are definitely going to go up. The quality of contact will probably come down. But any given slate, I do think you can play him, especially at second base. Really talked about Rowdy Tellez, 2,200 on both sides. If he's in the lineup, definitely some cheap power upside there. Hasn't done a ton in a minute. Still in the lineup. If you are playing the 640 slate, Jose Barrios is starting for the Blue Jays. Apparently that was news. I don't know if somebody was originally slated to start that was different. So Tellez can still turn on the ball from time to time. Last year, 13 home runs and 421 plate appearances. Not exactly the fearsome power bat that he might have been at one point, but he's not expensive. He's a free square, so you can go there, but he's the least appealing out of the top 7. Ryan Bliss, Dylan Moore, just kind of bolt-on parts for cheap in the infield at the bottom of the lineup on both sides. 28-21, second base only for Bliss. I'd probably just go Dylan Moore for the positional flex. Depends on what you need, though. Either one of those guys is playable. Astros lineup, 3.14 implied total going up against one of the best pitchers in baseball. Logan Gilbert, top of the board projections-wise, 95-10-2. He's the top of the board price-wise as well, but that's for very good reason. Dominant strikeout to walk pitcher. Last time out, second start of the year, 5 innings, faced 21 hitters, gave up 3 earned to the Tigers, but struck out 10, walked 1. Took the loss, but who cares? It's not his fault. 7 innings in his first start against the Athletics, struck out 8 in that game, gave up a solo home run. That was the 1 earned run, 2 hits to 23 batters. Basically stretched out to at least 7 innings. I see plenty of upside for Logan Gilbert. What I don't see, though, is probably him actually reaching 7 innings. I think we're looking more at like 6, booked quality start, just given the quality in the Astros. I expect him to give him a little bit of an issue finding those punch outs, getting to first base a little bit. So not the easiest, softest spot for Logan Gilbert, but a highly playable 6-inning spot where I think he can find his upside. So far, this Astros team has been striking out, 28.3% strikeout rate for this projected version of the lineup. Some aggressive free swinging types down toward the bottom of the lineup pushes that number north a little bit. But by and large, everybody from 6 up is very, very good at limiting strikeouts over time. So I wouldn't bank on this staying nearly this high. But a pitcher as talented as Gilbert, you already would be saying if it were these numbers, you'd be saying, all right, good pitching, going to be good hitting more often than not. He'll find his Ks along the way here. We don't sweat it that much. Since they're free swinging a little bit more than usual, go to it even more aggressively. Love the upside for Gilbert. The only challenge there is the price. If you're looking at Astros bats, I don't love it. It's a team I have great respect for that we use quite a bit in DFS, but I mean, given Gilbert's ability to keep guys off of first base via the walk, even with their ability to draw walks, given Gilbert's decent ability to keep power in check and limit the damage that power does because of that ability to keep guys off first base, just a really dicey spot for the Astros. Ballpark working against them too. At the very least, it's not the horrible hitting conditions like we've got in Chicago. It's not that bad against them, but it's not a great spot. You do have Jordan coming through at an 11.99 in the home run model, so there's something to cling to there. And this is a very much a player where you would say, well, that's the reason that you would go Astros, because he is that good. And there's bolt-on parts here to work with. Jose Altuve, much better than a bolt-on part in most situations. In this one, we'll call it a bolt-on part because of the pitcher against. What I want to see is, they knew what I wanted to see. Let's look at this Paredes ballpark. We're going to be checking this like all season. This would have been one of the worst parks in the league for him to hit last year, as far as that left field pull side. Third worst. Fourth worst. Fifth worst. Somewhere in there. So not a great Paredes spot. He's very cheap at 37.28. He hasn't found the left field corner yet this season. .030 ISO. As discussed, he does not barrel the ball all that frequently. He doesn't hit it all that hard all that frequently. He's a low strikeout, fairly high walk guy who can just elevate the ball just enough on the pull side. But this is a bad ballpark for him. So I kind of scratch him. Maybe we're looking 3-man, Altuve, Jordan, and Christian Walker, who's very, very good at first base, especially for only 4,200. Fully priced at 34. 200 cheap maybe on FanDuel at 34. but majorly discounted on DraftKings at 42. Part of that probably the pitcher against, the ballpark, etc. Maybe a little bit of it the moderate start over 37 plate appearances, 194, 216, 306, 45 WRC plus with 1 home run on the board. It's Christian Walker. We've got a long history with this guy being a 30 home run type hitter. He's also been very good in terms of keeping strikeouts down. Went up to 24% last year, but was 19.2 the year before, and if memory serves was like 18 the year before that. Jeremy Pena is a dead around league average type of a shortstop, but he's always going to be playable. 33, 29, 2 home runs, 2 stolen bases on the board so far this year. You can get there. He's created some good batted ball events so far, 14.8% barrel rate, which is nice, but it's probably going to go away over time. You can see last year, 5.4% barrels, a lot more like it. Jainer Diaz, fantastic hit tool, not only for the catcher position, but just for anybody. Excellent hitter. Ignore the .077 over 28 plate appearances. He's going to be much more like the guy who went 299, 325, 441 last year. Created runs 17% better than average. Hit 23 home runs in just 377 plate appearances the year before, so there's more power there than showed last year. Love Jainer Diaz's upside. Brendan Rodgers, Cam Smith, Jake Myers, all mix and match guys in a bad spot against one of the best pitchers in baseball. I don't think you go there. Logan Gilbert, Mariners bats, Astros bats. No. I'll go Hayden Wisniewski over the Astros bats, actually. There's just enough given the matchup for Hayden Wisniewski to get through. Beyond the rabbit hole, what's going on, buddy? Raul Ibanez. Yeah, you can throw some Raul Ibanez in there. Why not? Did I say something that was referring to Ibanez that I didn't remember? I always like that guy. Oh, Power was pointing out that Ibanez went yard on Rodon. Got it. Oof, 5-1. Yeah, that's not ideal. I don't love the idea of Carlos Rodon moving up the. I really liked him squished down a little bit in responsibility, like he just coast on through as the 3 starter behind Fried and Cole, moving him back up the ladder a little bit. Not the best. All right, let's get off this game. Keep on rolling here. So 2 to go. Reds on the road in San Fran, drawing a sub-3 total. It's a pitcher-friendly day. Jeez. Going from their super hitter-friendly ballpark to San Francisco, a pretty pitcher-friendly ballpark, definitely working against the bats. And then Logan Webb being on the mound really works against the Reds' bats here. You can see the impact that it has in the home run model between the ballpark and the pitcher. Nobody even at halfway to the magic number. Elly De La Cruz, who is consistently above a 10 against a lot of pitchers, 4.19 in today's home run model for 61-43. Elly could bend the slate just by getting on base, stealing second and third every time he does, scoring runs, etc. He's not off the board, but that is a very high price to pay if we're going to be taking a lot of his home run upside away. And it is entirely fair to do that with Logan Webb on the mound. Webb, as we've illustrated over time, is spectacular at keeping home runs or keeping the ball on the ground and in the park, limiting home runs. 2.5 degree average launch last year amounted to a 1.31% home run rate. 0.6 degrees the year before amounted to a 2.35, 3.1 degrees. It's just super amount of ground balls. Cannot hit the ball out of the ballpark if you can't hit it in the air against the pitcher, and that's what he does. He's also got decent strikeout stuff. It's a pretty good spot for Logan Webb. This opposing lineup, 21.4% strikeout rate for the projected version of the Reds last year, 20% for the projected version of the Reds so far this year. So we have it confirmed. Doesn't look like we do. Nope. So it's a low overall average if we're including Jake Fraley, Jose Trevino at the bottom, Santiago Espinal, and TJ Friedl up at the top. Look at the numbers for the meat of the lineup. This year so far, 26.7% average strikeout rate for Elly, Gavin Lux, Jim Candelario, Christian Encarnacion Strand, and Spencer Steer. Last year, same group of players, only Steer was a little bit different, 25.6%. There are strikeouts in the heart of this lineup with basically all of their power bats. So you're taking away the power, You're punching those guys out for strikeouts. I like the upside for Logan Webb. 8,500 is a terrific price on DraftKings. 9,400 is a very good price on FanDuel. Seems like a really, really gettable Logan Webb spot. Last time out, 7 innings at Houston. 5 hits, 1 run, give up a homer, 6 strikeouts. So an odd solo home run to whoever that was, and a few scattered base hits. Give me 7 innings, give me 6 strikeouts. He got the win, he got the quality start against a significantly better lineup. Love the spot for Logan Webb here. First start of the year was against these Reds. That was at Cincinnati. As mentioned, much better ballpark for hitting. Give up 3 earned in that one on 6 hits. Didn't give up a homer. 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. Not an ideal Logan Webb start. I don't think we're looking at that tonight. I like him to get a little revenge against this team today. Hunter Green on the other side. Potentially dominant strikeout pitcher. 8 Ks in each of his first 2 starts. 7 innings in the last one. Gave up 3 hits, 1 earned. That was against Texas in Cincinnati. The game before that was against these Giants in Cincinnati. Went 5, 2 earned runs, struck out 8, gave up a home run in that one. Walked just 1 hitter in each of his first 2 starts. If he's going to maintain this, you're looking at like the best pitcher in baseball. The thing is, he's almost certainly not going to maintain that. Last year struck out 27.7, which is very good, but walked 9.3. That gets up there in terms of that strikeout to walk. 30% against 9.6 the year before. You can see where I'm going with this. A little bit shakier in the control and command than he's looked like over the first couple starts of the year. But again, if you take this kind of elite stuff, a near 20% strikeout rate so far this year that was 13 last year, 13.4 the year before, and just nudge it upward a little bit for all the strikeout, the swing and miss, and the strike throwing ability, and then you say we're going to be commanding those pitches a little bit more, we're not going to be losing as many hitters, this could be a major step forward for Hunter Green, and everything that we don't like about this pitcher would go away. I'm not sold yet. I'm not totally convinced we're there yet. I think he's highly playable. 7,900 is great as far as a price goes. Just for the punch outs alone, you can definitely go there. 96 on FanDuel, you need the strikeouts to come through, for sure. This Giants lineup so far this year, 25.8% strikeout rate. Last year, 22.2% for this same collection of hitters. There are strikeouts there, but it's a little bit more debatable as far as like just how high that number is. But it's probably 23, somewhere around there. So it's fair to say there's plenty of strikeouts here for him as well. There are some threatening hitters, though. Lamont Wade's excellent at getting on base despite the limited ability that he's shown so far this year. Once he's there, we've got Willy Adames and all of his major power to come through to drive him in. We've got Young-Hoo Lee and his ridiculously good hit tool and his low strikeout rate. Young-Hoo Lee could ruin Hunter Green's day with 3 base hits. Just depends on what happens immediately before him in the lineup. But that's not a guy that Hunter Green is very likely to strike out 3 times today. So far, 344, 400, 531. 3 stolen bases, a 163 WRC plus. Very affordable. Matt Chapman, I've talked already about loving the swing speed, the fast swing rate. 2 home runs on the board already. Has always made phenomenal contact. 12.6% barrels, 48.2% hard hits last year. Strikeouts are always going to be there, but he does draw his walks. Very competent player for just 4,500, 3,600. 7.58, second highest on the team in the home run model. Elliot Ramos, 6.9 in the home run model for just 3,600, or for 3,600 on FanDuel. I was going to say just and use the DraftKings number at 3,900, differently priced across sites. Didn't catch that. Cheap on DraftKings, expensive on FanDuel. 3 home runs already. Had a nice little breakout last year that I said it before. I'm going to say it again. I feel like this season that Elliot Ramos had last year was really under-discussed. 200 ISO on the nose, 20% better than average creating runs, 22 home runs and 518 plate appearances as a rookie. That was a great rookie season. There are years in baseball history where that wins you the Rookie of the Year in the National League. And I would say a lot of years in baseball history. That kid's good. 14.5% barrels, 47.4% hard hits last year. And he's keeping it up so far. Definitely can fire away with Elliot Ramos shares if you're going to this team. But he's also a high strikeout guy. Fairly low walk. Mike Yastrzemski, a little bit of bat on ball from the left side, solid 40+% hard hit rate, 10.5% barrels last year, 9.8 the year before. Going to finish in the mid-teens as far as home runs go. He's got 1 on the board this year. Wilmer Flores, 4 home runs already this year, 364 ISO. Keep it up, Wilmer. Nice to see a little resurgence for the, what do we want to call him? The little guy. The little guy who cried once upon a time on getting traded out of the Mets. Found a nice home in San Francisco. There's not much of a player there. He's always been a guy you go to against lefties. He's had his moments. 454 plate appearances 2 years ago. He hit 23 home runs, had a 225 ISO. Very solid season. Last year, just 242 plate appearances, very few of which were any good. It's nice to see him hitting the ball hard again. I'll give him that much. I don't want to get excited about it. I don't think you use him at first base, 3,100. Probably just rather have Lamont Wade or another team's first baseman. 2,800 first and third. He's probably a little bit more playable on FanDuel, but only marginally so. Patty Bailey, Tyler Fitz, both playable down lineup. Both putting up pretty similar numbers over their first 27 plate appearances. I like Tyler Fitz to pull away as far as the season-long production goes. Last year in 341, very effective 280, 334, 497. Created runs 32% better than average. 15 homers, 17 steals. Extrapolate that to a full season. That's a dynamite season from a very cheap middle infielder. If you are going Reds, you really want to live right there with those high strikeout guys, and Spencer Steer should be on that list as well. I really don't want to push too much Reds, though. Not against a pitcher like Logan Webb. He's just too likely to undercut their offensive upside. But if you're going there, Friedel is an okay starting point. He's got a home run on the board, needs to get on base to set the table for the rest of these guys. Santiago Espinal, miscast as a 2-hitter, should not be hitting second ever. Just completely bizarre to even have him in the projected lineup there. 9 home runs, 11 steals last year, completely ineffective, under a 300 on base. Has never been much of a bat. I can't imagine why he'd be up there. Ellie, again, at price, you're just looking for a little bit of on base with the speed and just make things happen Ellie Chaos style rather than Ellie 2 home run power hitter style in this one. Very unlikely we're going to get the double dong out of Ellie tonight. Gavin Lux, 34-26, second and third base. Playable price-wise. Hasn't done much to produce to keep this job, but getting opportunities here. Jeimer Candelario, definitely mid-20s type power over the years. 27.5% strikeouts so far this year, up slightly from 24.6 in the small sample so far year over year. Power hasn't come out yet so far this season, but give him time. It's just unlikely to arrive today. Encarnacion Strand has 2 home runs on the season. We're just looking for him for home run power on the right day. Today's not the right day. Spencer Steer, probably one of their more effective overall DFS options on any given slate. But again, if we're taking the home run out of that equation, it hurts. 20 homers, 25 steals last year. Not much of a hitter, not a great on-base guy. So really needs those counting stats and needs both sides of the equation to be able to really get there. And then Jake Fraley, mix and match talent at best. Jose Trevino's a excellent pitch framer and good 19 plate appearances. I'll give him that much. He's not much of a hitter. This is easily Logan Webb, then Hunter Green, then Giants bats. And really, I don't think we dabble with the Reds that much. Sub 3, problematic. Last game up. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you get a chance on the YouTube channel here. Slide your way over to rotoscouts.com. Subscribe over at the site. Under $1 a day. I cannot make it any cheaper and keep the site active and going with the lights on at the same time and so on and so forth. Under the price of an egg per day gets you access to baseball, and you get projections for both sites. The home run model. You get every single player's home run model out of my custom home run model. That those of you guys that know me, I think that was the key piece that people wanted for years, right? You've got access to it. My top stacks, my home run picks, I individually pick a guy from each team and an overall home run pick of the day. It was Luke Raley today, if you weren't here. You also get basketball in that. You get hockey in that. Every main slate the rest of the way through the playoffs. You get NFL when that comes back, plus NHL, NBA next season and beyond, and so on and so forth. Check it out. Weekly, monthly, and quarterly plans are available. Check out our guys over at AceMind for your acemind.io for your sim and optimization needs as well. Promo code RotoScouts still gets you 20% off your first month over there. At some point, I'll get some sim stuff worked into shows and talking points for you guys. I don't sim as much for baseball. I'm still a little bit traditional about how I do my baseball lineup building. Got my old line review box over here. Look at this thing. It's just such a work of art that I can't stop using it. My pitcher, my stack teams, my stack combo types. For some reason, this has been driving me nuts, by the way. Anybody out there, if you use RG for Optimizer, are you also getting, if you tell it I want 4-3-1 and 4-4 only stacks, are you also getting 3-3s and 2-2s and all kinds of random ass builds? Because I am this year, and I don't know what's changed in the settings. If anybody can find that out. You don't get access to this in the, this is just, I don't know why I pulled it up. I was talking about how I build lineups and not simming. It's in my tool. You don't get access to that, but I could probably build you guys one. Easy enough. The thing would be keeping it up to date and handling any changes. I don't want to create a whole customer support thing, but maybe I'll whip up a download version of that for you guys. B Shady says, Vlad, Abreu, Contreras, Suarez for home runs tonight. Opinions? So Vladdy not on this slate, but I'll always take Vladdy for a home run. Contreras, Suarez. Suarez is always going to be on that board, assuming you mean Eugenio. Okay. All right, so Abreu. Which Abreu are you talking about? Who am I not thinking of? Which Abreu, which Contreras? Vladdy is probably the best name on that list, but that game's not in this model because it's not on this slate. It's on the earlier slate. And then Eugenio. Got to be in here somewhere. There he is. It's a lower number than typically for Suarez. At a 6.18, he's a guy who is typically, well above the mark for home run upside. That's not the right game. Eflin's gettable enough. It's not a spot where like the pitcher's screaming, these guys are going to hit a home run off of me. 2.70 2 years ago, 3.22 last year. Reasonable ability to keep the ball, keep premium contact kind of down. Reasonable ability to keep the ball down. But Eugenio Suarez can overcome any of this. So it's not a bad spot. You're talking about a premium home run hitter. That's what Suarez does. But this isn't as high as his number typically is going to be. So Eflin is cutting him a little bit there. But I definitely don't mind that pick. Wilyer Abreu, thank you. I was like, it's not Jose Abreu. It's not Bobby Abreu. I was sitting there like, who the fuck? That game also not on this slate. But Wilyer hits the ball extremely hard. Definitely would consider that at least. Who are they going up against? Oh, that's against Barrios? Yeah, you can get Wilyer in there. I don't mind that at all. Barrios is easily gettable. And then Wilson Contreras? Yeah, Wilson, they're going up against, you asked about 3 out of the 4 guys not on the slate that we're looking at. But yeah, Wilson Contreras against Carmen Mlodzinski, sure. No problem there. Especially, I love the idea of grabbing any kind of prop bet, really, where you're getting a guy in the top 2 or 3 in a lineup is ideal because you're getting that potentially extra plate appearance, right? You're getting a fraction of a plate appearance, but you're getting additional probability with it rather than fishing down lineup for guys. So yeah, I like that spot. And you're talking about one of the better home run hitting catchers in baseball, and I assume you're getting a pretty decent price on it. So yeah, I don't have a number to show you for that one, unfortunately, but I would suspect that Mlodzinski didn't give one up in his first one. Only 50 2/3 2 years ago. He hasn't been terrible for home runs in the show so far, but it's very limited innings. You're talking about 86 2/3 innings over 5 starts and some relief appearances. Super gettable pitcher. Maybe it's a better spot for like a total bases bet if you really were splitting hairs. But there's no reason to think that William Contreras couldn't find the home run here. Or Wilson. Either Contreras, really. So yeah, I don't know, Shady. I don't know if your question was which one of those guys I like best, or do I like each of those guys as like individually not bad. But yeah, I think you got it pretty much right there. The note you just dropped in, Vladdy and Suarez would have been the two guys that I would have been like most likely mash those guys together. And yeah, if you're taking the other two guys as separate, just individual upside plays, no issues with it. Vladdy and Abreu probably would have worked as well as the two-man combined one. Contreras would have been the guy I would have left out if you were saying, hey, I need to pick three of these guys for a parlay or something. Good as he is. Michael King, Luis Severino, 7,300, 8,200 for Sevy going up against the Padres. They're one of the leading teams in the stack tool today. They're drawing pretty good aggressive projections. Two guys over the magic number for home runs, and then everybody kind of drops to the middle because that's where you typically see the Jake Cronenworths, the Xander Bogaerts of the world. But a very capable top to bottom kind of a lineup with... Yeah, I don't typically care whether a guy's a veteran or not, but you've got a lot of just quality, experienced major leaguers in this lineup. Sevy, veteran caliber pitcher, shaky over his first two starts. 22.6% Ks, but 13.2% walks in the raw form. That looks like 6 innings in both starts, 6 strikeouts in both starts, but 4 walks in the first one, 3 walks in the second one. Got through the first start despite the walks. That was against Seattle. Got through that one clean, just 3 hits. But remember, that Seattle team goes up there flailing and doesn't hit the ball all that effectively. The 4 walks are definitely an issue. Burnt him against the Cubs in the second one. Gave up 5 earned on 6 hits with the 3 walks, 2 home runs allowed. The strikeouts are nice. This is a low strikeout Padres team, has been for a number of years running now, with a little bit of pop in it. I like the upside for the Padres lineup, 4.43 implied total. It was over 4.6 earlier in the day. That was when this game was at 8.5 total. Most of the weight coming down on the Padres side, though, as far as that implied total goes. I think we just lean some Padres bats. They are easily one of the more playable teams on the slate. If you get vintage Sevy, it could be a little bit of a problem. But even last year, 3.91 ERA with a 4.12 xFIP, 21.2% Ks over 182 innings over 31 starts. Year before, 18.9% strikeouts over 89 and a third in 18 starts. We didn't see a full season at him for 2 years running there. The last time he was truly a high-end pitcher was 2022, 27% strikeout rate that year. So he's just not that guy anymore, I don't think. Injuries have sapped it. Time has taken some of it away. So I think we can just target him pretty safely here with Padres bats. And I really don't want that much of him going the other way. Even if he has a semi-effective day, at 82 on FanDuel, I don't know that we're looking... Well, he did go 6. So maybe you've got the quality start on an effective day. But I like them to keep his strikeout number down a little bit. At 73 on DraftKings, I think there's more playability there as an SP2. Just because he's one of the guys in that group of high 6s, low 7s. As far as the price. Eflin grades out slightly better. You've got a similar looking Lorenzen going up against a probably more gettable Twins lineup, and the quality difference between Severino and Lorenzen for 200 less is negligible. Even Wisniewski at 75 against the free swinging Mariners, a much less threatening lineup. I think there are just other directions to go against Sevy here, rather than getting too overweight to the 73. I think he's loosely playable and more desirable on DK, but it's a rough spot. King, on the other hand, definitely like the upside. This A's lineup so far this year, in just 19.6% strikeouts. They've been flashing their power upside, as stated a couple times already on this show. This is a team we're going to be looking at, going to be talking about through the year. We got to them a little bit through last year, especially Brent Rooker and Lawrence Butler once he came on the scene. And there's more to work with in this lineup now. Tyler Soderstrom is a great addition to this lineup. He's got 3 home runs on the board in 4 home runs in 42 plate appearances, 359 ISO. He's a lefty masher. Kid's got tons and tons of power. Looks like he's fully arrived. 3,400, still cheap on DK. Catcher and first base on FanDuel. If he ever gets the catcher eligibility on DK, look out. He's supposed to catch some games. I don't know if he's gotten behind the plate yet. JJ Bleday, a very good option as a 3-hitter in terms of just how you want to construct a baseball lineup, because he's a capable guy. He can drive the ball, but he's not their most important bat. But he's a fairly low strikeout guy. He can draw a walk. He can get you a base hit. He can hit you a double. He can hit the occasional home run. So far this year, he hasn't really done any of that. But last year, he hit 20 home runs, got on base at a 324 clip, created runs 20% better than average while putting up a 194 ISO. That's a good player. 3,700, 2,600, he's just cheap. Very, very functional piece in this Athletics lineup. Brent Rooker, just one of the best power bats in baseball, full stop. 4 home runs on the year, 267 ISO, monster premium contact. Does a lot of things right and improved all the things that he used to do wrong year over year. Really big fan. 5,600, 3,600. Appropriately priced on DraftKings. Maybe $200 cheap on FanDuel. Excuse me, I got the burps going on from those burgers I ate before the show. I don't want to just be here ripping burps into the microphone like I'm 1987 Howard Stern. Seth Brown even hiding down the Mariners or the Athletics lineup. If you're rostering Athletics, that's something to keep in mind. Lefty bat with at least the idea of some quality pop. 8.4% barrels, 40.2% hard hits last year. Better the year before with 12.2 and 46.1. A lot of strikeouts, minimal as far as the walks, but can turn on one against a righty. The issue for all of these guys is the matchup against Michael King, who is very good and very likely to sit a lot of them down via the strikeout. Second start of the year was against Cleveland, team we've talked about having a lot more strikeout downside in their lineup this year than they used to. He went out and struck out 11 Guardians, as if to make my point for me. Walked 1, gave up 2 hits over just 5, faced 19 hitters. First start of the year was against Atlanta, did not have a good outing. 3 strikeouts, 4 walks, gave up a homer, 3 earned on, 4 hits, and was out of the game after 2 2/3, 16 hitters. So we like the second start version of Michael King to return to the mound here against the A's today. Really like the upside. 8,700 seems like a great price on FanDuel. I don't feel threatened by the A's power upside. I will take the Michael King strikeout upside in that equation every single time. Really like that spot. I would roster some A's against, but it's more like 5-1. Like, for every 5 shares of King, you grab a share of A's. Potentially dominant spot though for King. 9,200 on DraftKings is pricey, but perfectly fine. Slots in number 2 on the board overall by projection. Little bit offset from Logan Gilbert, but not extremely so. You save $300. The savings on FanDuel is where it really stands out there, though. Not only from the top, but from the next 5 guys down the board after him. I don't really understand how they arrived at, I guess, Senga I'll give you. Logan Webb I'll give you. Hunter Green, Zach Gallen, Evaldi be more expensive than Michael King against the Athletics? Take advantage. That is a very, very good FanDuel price. Just rounding out the A's lineup, mix and match quality on Jacob Wilson. Better than that, actually. That's unfair. 2 home runs on the board, 351, 568 start. A lot of good player prospect type buzz. Not a star caliber type of a guy, but an effective bat, supposed to have a good hit tool. So he's moderately playable if you're dipping down to the bottom of the A's lineup against a good pitcher. It's just not a great spot in the terms of the whole slate. Gio Urshela, never been much of a hitter. Max Muncy, extra crispy, playable. 176, 243, 265 wouldn't really indicate that so far. Has at least had a few good batted ball events and does have that kind of a skill set. We'll see what we get in the long term out of Max Muncy. But I think he's at least playable. Is this drawing? I'm just realizing I think this is drawing the other Max Muncy's numbers. I didn't think to look at it for the board today because Dodger's not on this slate. Yeah, I thought he had it. Yeah, this Max Muncy is at 103, 133, 241 with 1 home run on the board. Has struck out 40% of the time. This is the other Max Muncy's stat numbers coming through. The projection is correct. So this one is, call it a tie at the top between Michael King and his bats. Padres bats, Michael King, pretty even up at the top. Then I'd say Severino, and only after that A's bats. Between the lower end teams facing good pitchers, though, the A's 366 is at least showing a little bit of playability. Between their power, their individual power upside, and the 366 total, that's like my point being, like, it's not the Reds at sub 3. It's not the Rangers at sub 3. It's not the Marlins at sub 3. So if you're fishing, at least try and probably stick to, if you're fishing for lower ownership in your stack, contrarian teams against good pitching, you probably want to stick with like the A's at 3-6 rather than fishing for the Reds at a sub 3 up against against a pitcher more likely to limit their offensive output. Make sense? Hope so, because that's basically the end of the show. Captain America Bleeds says, I was looking at strikeout rates per team. It's leading me to Gilbert and Green. How do we feel about rostering them? Like both pitchers, no issues with it whatsoever. Green is a excellent strikeout pitcher in his own right, and Gilbert is just flat out one of the best pitchers in baseball. You're going to get some popularity there for sure. But Green going up against, the strikeout number, like I said, is probably somewhere in between those two. A little bit higher so far this year, 22% for these guys last year. So probably call it, 22, 23, somewhere in that range. You're quibbling over a couple of points. That's more average, slightly above average than like 25, 26% is kind of aggressively above average. But that puts a little bit of meat on the bone for an already very, very good strikeout pitcher. It's just, as I said, Green still does, at least for me, come with a little bit of concern around what does the control command on any given slate look like? Is he going to walk 6 guys, or is it going to be the elite version that we've seen walk just 1 in the first 2 starts? Potentially has made that growth, right? That is not something I'm ruling out, but it's also not something I'm banking on yet. So between those 2 guys that you named, Logan Gilbert is by far the more reliable go-to guy, and if you had to choose one gun to your head, that's the guy I would pick. But Hunter Green, in terms of just the raw strikeout upside that he's got today or any given slate, right there with Logan Gilbert, if not ahead of him. Male nurses, yes. Either pitcher in that Cubs game in Wrigley, you can definitely play. The conditions are outrageous for pitching today. This is a extreme anti-hitting spot. And you can see that in the totals. The Rangers coming in below 3. That's a team that is just, based on who's in their lineup, almost always going to be at least, as a starting point, 3, 4, 5, and up from there depending on who they're against. So that is a very crushingly low total. It's against a pitcher who keeps the ball down very effectively. So he's already going to limit their home run upside. The conditions are going to limit it even further. So yeah, you can definitely go Steele. You can definitely go Eovaldi on the other side. And that really comes down to price, because you're taking a lot of the quality out of the bats. 2 teams we like in terms of the bats, but either pitcher is where we're going in this one. Power says, not sure if you're playing the DK Turbo, but Arenado is scratched for Pozo, and Burleson is hitting cleanup now for the Cards. Appreciate that, buddy. Texas, Semyon Seager, Langford, Garcia, Pilar, Berger, Smith, Heim, and Higgy. Mostly the same as what we had. Pilar, I think, is a... it's on the screen. Pilar's there. So Smith in for Ezekiel Duran. That's a little bit of an upgrade in terms of that bat, but the spot remains atrocious. Josh Smith is playable, but it's a terrible, terrible spot. And then I guess it's Jonah Heim in with Higgy and Jonathan Ornelas out. So it is a power upgrade for slotting Jonah Heim in there, but it's a day where we're very likely to have a power outage at Wrigley Field. So yeah, doesn't really seem, regardless of who they're sticking in there, doesn't really seem ideal as far as Rangers bats or Cubs bats. I think that's pretty much it, gang, which is good because it's 5:00. Still got to get through 2 NBA games and get them up on the site, and a couple of NHL games, only 5 of those. Check out rotoscouts.com. All of the confirmed lineups are going to be updated in the next few minutes. I'll be on top of lineup confirmations as they come in. Getting NBA and NHL done in the meantime. And any questions, pop into Discord. Let me drop a Discord link. It's been a minute since I've done that. Discord is 100% free for all. You do not have to be a subscriber to come into our Discord. So pop on in there if you're new here. If you've been here a bunch of times but never joined Discord, hop in. It's not pasting the link for reasons. Cool. All right, that doesn't want to work. Copied. What a way to end the show. Discord.gg/RT Z7QNCJ. I don't know why it's not pasting. Regardless, it is actually linked from rotoscouts up in the top corner. Look for the Discord icon. You can get in that way. Discord's free to all. Come on in and hang out. I'll get you a link next time. Come on back next time around. We'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, good luck out there tonight. Somebody will win something. Share a screenshot when you do. I love seeing those. And come on back tomorrow for more. See you, gang.